So the Minding Your Business podcast, this is episode 72, is powered by the Binge Podcast Network. The Binge Podcast Network is www.onabinge.com, co-founded by myself and Mr. Dominic Lawson of Owls LLC and the Startup Life Podcast. Make sure you check out the Startup Life Podcast on all the major podcasting networks. That's our big brother podcast that I like to refer to it to. If you're a podcaster, whether you're new to podcasting, whether you have an existing podcast, we love for you to be part of the network. We want to be able to work with a diverse kind of myriad, platform of podcasters all the way around, no matter what your subject matter is or where you're from or where you are on this planet Earth. We've already got a great lineup of podcasters with different subjects that you can check out directly from onabinge.com. But make sure that you get with us because we would love to be able to work with you and be a resource to help you get your podcast to the right audience and expand that audience and do some cross-pollination. And we're also working on opportunities from sponsorship. So we love to be able to do that. So make sure you get with us on onabinge.com or reach out to Dominic Lawson as well as myself. And of course, the Minding Your Business podcast is always brought to you by Brooks Brothers Consulting. That's my company, along with my brother Philip. We started in June 2013. We're a sales and business development firm. We work with financial institutions as well as small businesses all around. Actually, next year, as I've probably shared already, I'm going to be going into a lot of the Midwestern states on next year, so I'll be traveling. The purpose of that is sales and business development with some of the banks, particularly with how they do that in low to moderate income communities that are within their CRA or Community Reinvestment Act assessment areas. So I'll be doing that. So I'll be hopping in and out of planes and out of airports. I've done that life before, and I'll be looking to do more of that in 2019. But Brooks Brothers Consulting, if we can be a resource for you as you develop your sales, service operations and employee engagement platforms within your business, no matter what size your business is, you need to get with us, 901-808-3801, or you can email me, ron@brooksbrothersconsulting.com. You can also visit us at www.brooksbrothersconsulting.com. Listen, I'm your host, Champ Ron. This is the Minding Your Business podcast. We got the Facebook Live audience out here. We got the live audience on Spreaker. We got people already joining. This is going to be a great subject, kind of near and dear to a lot of our hearts. Episode number 72. Let's get it.
What we do here is go back.
So thank y'all so much. We had to get through the intro here. For those that are on the Facebook Live, they can't necessarily hear it. But thank y'all so much for joining. I'm your host, Champ Ron. This is the Minding Your Business podcast, episode number 72. And man, every episode, I'm just more and more grateful to everybody who's subscribed, liked, shared the podcast. I get emails now from people with who are interested in being on the podcast. They're interested in different guests that we've had on in the past. They're interested in different topics and things like that they like for me to cover. So, man, that's awesome. People who agree, people who disagree, and everything all around. So, man, I am completely grateful for everybody, man, to get to episode number 72. We're about to wrap up 2018, get into 2019. We got to get it popping. Some things are coming, y'all. Listen, I was on the FDIC conference call this week. They are not going to be playing with y'all as we get through 2019 and we get into these 2020s. You better be getting ready. So you play on Facebook if you want, play on social media if you want, and you'll be around here adding up debt and trying to live your best life, with high balances, and you're going to be in trouble. I'm just going to tell you right now. And you know I'm not going to lie to you. I might talk a lot of shit, but I tell no lies. What's up, everybody on Facebook Live? Toy Harris, what's going on? Julius, what's up, brother? Dominic Lawson, I was just talking about you, man. Co-founder with the Binge Podcast Network. El Mac, what's up, man? What's going on, brother? Isaac, what's up? Samantha, what's going on? Hope everybody's doing well on this Friday. November the 30th of 2018. Woo, what a week, man. It's been some week this week, but today's subject, we're talking about how to retain your customers. And customer retention is so critical. It always has been critical, but now as the game's changing, the landscape's changing, things are congested. A lot of people are in business now who in the past wouldn't be in business. You know, there was a time in business where, hell, when you used to have to get stuff to go print, and, you know, you had Kinko's and all that, the different print companies, and, you know, people couldn't easily get into business. You know, you had to get a loan, or people felt they had to get a loan or whatnot. You don't have to do any of that stuff anymore, but it's created a congested lane. So it's kind of like the expressway. The more people that move into an area, the thicker that traffic gets. And so now you got to be able to differentiate yourself. And one of the things that takes you from glorified hobby or social media hobby to business. And that's what a lot of people have to get to. You have to get away from just being a hobbyist. There's nothing wrong with being a hobbyist, but go be a hobbyist. Don't call it a business. It's a business when you're able to provide value to a customer, and then that customer is able to repeat that either by doing additional business with you and or referring business to you. If you're just doing one-time transactions and all you're doing is just posting on social media, boosting it for $5 and all that kind of stuff, you're not really doing a business. It's an extension of your personal life on social media. That's not a business. All right. So make sure we know what it is. And that's what we're going to get into, because I'm here to help you. So again, hope everybody's had a great day. A couple things we're going to go through. We're going to go through Ron's Rundown, my segment. I'm going to go through some of the headlines, local and national, and then we're going to get right into the subject. But first, thank you all on Spreaker. I see you. What's up? I see my guy, Benjamin. What's going on, man? I see Kayla. What's up? Those are my folks here on Spreaker. I don't even have time. I can't go through all y'all right now. All y'all raising your hand and stuff. I can't go through it. And then we got the folks on Facebook Live. Casina, what's going on? Angel, what's going on? Samantha, what's going on? Everybody. Shout it out, everybody. Listen, if you're on Facebook Live, make sure that in the comments, any questions that you have, any thoughts, agree, disagree, whatever it is, anything to add, make sure you share that. Share your business as well, because there may be people that are interested in what you do, and the only way they're going to find out is you got to tell them. So make sure you put that in the comments. A couple people have already. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Lawrence. But y'all share if you got events coming up, all that kind of thing. You don't have to be shy with that. I don't care what it is. Put it out there so that the rest of us can know, so that we can support you. A lot of times people whine about support, and then they don't tell nobody but the same old people that don't support them anyway. So you tell somebody else. That's part of, again, building customers and customer retention at the end of the day. But, you know, we have to know what's going on. So you have to share what's going on. And that's the only way that we're going to know. So y'all make sure y'all do that. You know, I'm not worried about paying for advertising and all that kind of stuff. At least not yet. So, man, hope everybody had a great week. I know it was the holiday week on last week. Y'all were on Cyber Monday, I guess, this week, buying up everything off the internet. And y'all were in folks' stores, spending up all your money and all that. Hopefully you were careful and sensible with that if you just felt compelled to have to do that. Me, I wasn't touching none of it. I wasn't touching none of it. I wasn't in anybody's store, and I wasn't on anybody's online thing. I did go out there and look to see what kind of deals were out there. I stopped by, I needed some clothing stuff, so I stopped by Old Navy and looked at, you know, some things in there that they had. It was crazy in there, though. I couldn't stand it but so long, man. This older white lady came, and hell, I thought she was going to knock me down trying to get to some of them deals in the store. So, yeah, y'all were crazy from what I saw. But anyway, that's that. So if you enjoyed that, hopefully you did, and you've got that out of your system, and you're ready now to get the value from how to improve your customer retention rate. But first, let's go through my rundown real quick of some of the local and national headlines. Let's do that. All right, so real quick, some of the local headlines. I'm just going to go through because I just kind of jotted them down real quick, and I'll discuss them briefly. Of course, Berlin Boyd off the Memphis City Council is under fire. District 7 here locally in Memphis. He said that the council was on its way to a more partisan or racial divide when they were trying to appoint someone to fill the District 1 seat that was vacated by Bill Morris. So these folks stayed in session last Tuesday, right before the holiday, till 1 o'clock in the morning. The meeting started at 3:30. These folks didn't leave till 1 o'clock in the morning. There was a lot of shenanigans that was going on, and there was a lot of divide between what came down to two candidates, Miss Rhonda Logan, I believe, and then also Lonnie Treadaway. I'm sorry. I've got personal thoughts on that, but I'll save that for another time. Once this starts to settle, I'll share a little bit of information on that. But anyway, that's what was going on last week. This coming Tuesday, they're supposed to get back together in the city council to complete that vote on filling District 1, and then there's some other business they've got to fill. So anyway, in case you missed that, that's something that was going on. We got the St. Jude Marathon tomorrow for those that are participating. And listen, they're expecting 26,000 participants, 40,000 spectators, and 4,000 volunteers tomorrow. And they're expecting to raise $11.2 million tomorrow for the St. Jude Marathon, which is tomorrow here in Memphis, Tennessee. For those that are listening to the podcast, you're outside of Memphis, this is a really big deal. You probably heard of St. Jude. But it's a really big deal. So shout out to everybody that's going to be participating in that on tomorrow. Of course, this week, Oakland beat Whitehaven in the Class A state title game. For those that always are talking about respect the Haven, doesn't look like that message got to Oakland. But, definitely shout out to Whitehaven High School for the season that they had and representing the city very well. They've been phenomenal as a program over the last several years. They brought home state titles and things like that, but just couldn't get over the hump with Oakland. They lost 37-0 in that game. FedEx Trade Networks, they're not going to be moving to the Gibson Guitar Factory building in downtown Memphis. That was confirmed. They've had some struggles with trying to get some people to go into that building. If people here in Memphis, they're familiar with the Gibson building. It's right across from FedEx Forum in downtown Memphis. I'm sure somebody eventually get that building. I think it's about 150,000 square feet, so it's pretty large. But somebody's going to get that eventually. Let's see. Regency Home Builders was named the top workplace in Memphis. They have 46 employees in Germantown. They started in 2007. I haven't seen the complete list, so I don't know what they were up against. But, I guess shout out to them in terms of being considered the top workplace in Memphis for small businesses. University of Memphis basketball team, Coach Penny Hardaway, he's been frustrated a little bit. The team's off to a 3-3 start. That's kind of what was expected when you inherit a roster that he's inherited, but he's doing a great job. James Wiseman, the number one prospect in America, number one high school basketball prospect, has officially signed his paperwork. So they're getting things together. They've got a nice class coming in next year, and they're going to win some games this year too. It's just going to be a struggle anytime you're shaping culture, and those of you in business know this. When you're coming in and you're trying to shape and evolve culture with the same people, sometimes that can be a struggle, and that takes a little bit of time. So we're riding with Coach Penny Hardaway on that. Memphis Grizzlies are 12-8. They play the Brooklyn Nets tonight. Grizzlies have been off to a good start, but they've lost a few games now, and they're going to have to get that thing back on track. And a trial date's been set for September 16th, 2019 for Shara Wright and Billy Ray Turner. Both Shara Wright and Turner were charged with first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and attempted first-degree murder. So the charges are just piling up. This is related to former NBA player and great Memphian Lorenzen Wright. So just a shame there, but they have announced the trial date. It'll be September of next year, and we're going to keep our eyes on that and see what goes on there. Nationally, man, Marriott got hit, y'all. 500 million people roughly have been hit with a data breach. Marriott's investigating a data breach of its Starwood reservation system that could have exposed personal information for up to 500 million guests. And damn, I might be one of them because I've recently stayed in Marriott. And hell, I just booked Marriott this week, going up to Pennsylvania. So I got to check on that. So this is actually the second largest breach ever. 500 million guests is the second largest breach in United States history that just happened. The data can include passport numbers, email addresses, and phone numbers for 327 million people, while the others may have had credit card information compromised. So, again, if you're saving your contact information and your credit card information, make sure that you check out on that. If you've been in the last few years, you stayed in any kind of Marriott branded hotels. We got new music. People are jamming to the new Meek Mill's Champions album. The Diplomats Dipset with diplomatic ties and all kinds of different things that are coming out, man. It's been a big year for music. Just about every artist that's somebody, as far as the mainstream artist, has put out great music. Here in Memphis, there's been a lot of great local music put out as well. And so that's been something that's going on. On Tuesday in the state of Mississippi, Cindy Hyde-Smith beat Mike Espy for the U.S. Senate seat representing the state of Mississippi. So I'll leave that where that's at as well. That's the headline. So let's see. Millennials. So millennials are, according to the Federal Reserve report, are financially less well off than earlier generations, from Gen X and baby boomers and the great generation. Millennials, which are defined by a lot of people as those that are born between 1981 and 1997, who now are ages 21 through 37, have paid the price, according to the report, for coming of age during the Great Recession. They face a historically weak labor market for the most part, except for recently, and tighter credit, conditions and qualifications. So, however, millennials tend to value, on the most part, experiences over things, and so they're consuming at the same rate as past generations, just with not as much money. So they're still consuming at the same rate, which suggests that there's more of them, and they're consuming in certain areas. And then they're conserving in certain areas. Some of it's because they've got a lot of debt, which a lot of y'all can speak to. And that's hindering some from doing some things. But a lot of millennials care more about traveling and experiencing things in the world and experiencing different cultures and whatnot. So shout out to the millennials. I'm borderline on that. I'm half Gen X and half millennial myself. So Volkswagen is planning a North American factory that's coming. They have a factory in Chattanooga, Tennessee, that they say may actually be what they utilize, but they're looking to bring some electric cars here by 2020 to manufacture them right here in the United States. And they're looking at these costing anywhere between $30,000 and $40,000, these new electric cars. As I mentioned, the Chattanooga plant, they manufacture the Passat and the Atlas that's produced here, and they've got a little bit of room. So there is some thought that they may even locate to Tennessee, which would allow them to hire folks from all around, and then including the Chattanooga area. And last, Starbucks made an announcement on Thursday that it will do what it was supposed to do 2 years ago, which was begin blocking pornography and illegal content on its free Wi-Fi network. So listen, y'all got to be careful what y'all looking at in these Starbucks, because people looking over y'all shoulders seeing this stuff, and they reporting y'all when y'all looking at some of the funny stuff that could be on the internet. But now Starbucks is getting involved. They're looking to block y'all from looking at your porn and all that kind of stuff while y'all sitting drinking your lattes and whatnot in Starbucks. So Starbucks is finally getting serious about that, and they're going to stop that. But that's Ron's rundown for Friday, November the 30th. So On from that, that's some of the headlines, local and national, that are going on. Now, let's get into episode 72, which is how to retain your customers. All right. Looks like a lot of people, okay, on Facebook, looks like they're trying to tag in a lot of people, so it's all good. Looks like a lot of people are wanting to join on Spreaker as well, so I'm going to get into it. So I opened up the podcast by talking about the importance of transitioning your hobby to your business. And one of the things that's going to help you edify your business to help take it to the next level is when you're able to do business with customers. So you have a product or service that is able to entice or solve a problem for people, and you're able to then repeat that. That's where your value comes into play. If people just buy your product or service once and they go on, you're just doing a lot of transactions. So then the cost of you getting new customers is always going to be there, because you're not getting people to do repeat business with you. And that could be for a number of reasons. Some of it is you're not doing the things that I'm about to share with you. And I've got a lot to share with y'all. So if you've got comments, some of y'all do some great things. Some of my folks on Facebook do some great things in terms of how they go to market and how they're able to retain customers. Let me go through some of the list, and these are things that, again, I have experienced myself. I've come up short myself, times where I've done really good with some of these, and then some things that I've actually researched. So let me go, and I'll start right here. So if you're looking to retain customers in your business, you're offering a value in a product or service. One of the things that you're going to need to do is you got to take a step back and look at what do you and your brand stand for. And this is something that's changed in the kind of the marketing field over the last few years, particularly with the advent of the internet and social media. Is first you got to look at what does your business stand for. You have to stand for something. Customers now are no longer just going to allow you to just be neutral on every single thing. Your business has to have a soul, just like you do as a person. Your business has to have a soul too. It can't be soulless anymore. It used to be a time where it was just your logo made up your business and that sort of thing. You can't do that anymore. Okay, so research from the Corporate Executive Board that included 7,000 consumers across the United States found that those consumers who said they had a strong relationship with the brand, 64% cited shared values as the primary reason. If you want loyal customers, you need to create real connections with them. You got to create a real connection. So you got to stand for something. You saw that with Nike, with the Colin Kaepernick thing. That was, way, kind of overblown and out there. But that's an example of you got to get off the bench with your brand, and you got to stand for something. That doesn't mean you got to get involved in every little argument or political thing. It's just you've got to be able to tell your story with your brand. It can't just be an entity. It's got to have a soul. All right? After that, you've got to invoke some kind of inner ego. Let me read this to you. Most people prefer products and companies that resemble them in some way. This cognitive bias is called implicit egotism, and I'm going to get to that here in a second. And it's important to keep in mind when talking to customers. To attract the customers you want, you need to identify your target customers down to the last detail and then craft a message that matches their pains, goals, and aspirations. It's easier to fill this existing demand than to create a new one. And so that's why I was just saying, creating new demand when you're just doing transactions is going to be costly. Even if you're just doing it on social media, you're probably not doing it to a level that you're really growing the business. So when you go from 2015 to 2016 to 2017 to 2018 to 2019, is your business just the same every year? Minus you getting a few extra Facebook friends and that kind of thing. But is your business kind of doing the same thing, or is it growing? Is it edifying? Right? And so some of this is people are looking for, your customer right now is looking for that you're keeping them top of mind, that you're able to portray and engage them with the details, and those details have to strike some level of ego within your customer. And I'm going to get to that again more here shortly, but you've got to invoke some inner ego, and you've got to stroke some ego a little bit with your product. American Express is the perfect example for that, right? American Express, years before everybody had the black and gold cards and all that, they recognized that early, that they branded themselves as being exclusive from Discover and Visa and MasterCard and all that, that people who had American Express were top notch, they were top credit, and all that sort of thing. And so they branded themselves that way. And so they tapped into the ego of the American consumer in a big way. So keep that in mind, and we'll talk some more about that, particularly around implicit egotism and something else I'm going to share. All right. Sam Upshaw, what's going on, man? Cleo, what's going on? Coach Cleo's joined too, man. What's up? Those are all the folks here on Facebook Live. All right, next. Position the before and after. All right. So when you're looking to retain your customer, one of the things that you have to look at is you've got to paint two pictures for your customer. One is what the world was like for them before your product or service, and then what the world is for them after your product and service. And you've got to bridge those together, because if you provide that contrast for your customer, it can be really powerful for retention. All right. You've got to constantly remind them what life is without your product or service and what it is with it. All right. You got to show how your product or service bridges a gap for them. And you've got to constantly remind them of that, because they're getting inundated. Your customers get inundated with a lot of things and a lot of branding and a lot of marketing from everywhere. Right. Everybody's in business now. Everybody's in sales, of course. So you've got to be able to position the before and after. So this is where you use social media, you use your website and things like that to be able to show, here's what it is before, here's what it is after. I'll give you an example of what I did once with my co-working facility with Memphis, which was one of the targets of that is people in co-working. You want people who are normally sitting in coffee shops or working from home. So what you have to show them in the co-working business is the benefit of connecting with people, right, as you're working, the ability to work individual and the ability to work in a team, right? And so that was a big thing that I had to do it. And so I had to use social media, and I had to use the company website at that time to drive in this notion that you gain value and your life is better by coming to the co-working facility versus going to the coffee shop or going to the restaurant or going to the library or or just sitting at home, right? Because you don't normally get that human touch of connectivity. Okay. And so that's an example of what I mean by position the before and after. Another thing you got to be able to do is capture your product's momentum. All right. When you make improvements to your product or service, you add on a line, you maybe make a line more efficient, make a product more efficient, your service delivery gets more efficient. You've got to share that with your customer. It's not just enough for you and your team or your employees or whatnot to know about it. Does your customer know about it? All right. And so what I mean by that is you've got to be able to share. This is another channel where email marketing goes a long way, as well as social media, is share that. Remember what I talked about earlier about standing for something. You've got to be able to share that story with your customer. You got to share it with excitement, with enthusiasm. Okay? And so share that with your customer, and it ties into, again, how they're able to then use your product maybe in a different way, a more efficient way. Maybe it solves a new problem. You know what I mean? So, when you've got momentum with your product or service, you've got to maximize that by make sure your customers know about it. Don't assume that they know about it, right? Particularly your best customers. Don't assume that they know. Make sure that you educate. And I'll talk about educating here now, because as you capitalize on your product's momentum, you're standing for something, you're positioning the before and after with your product or service. The world is made up of sales. Okay, you're not going to get around that. Every industry has sales. You're always selling. You're either selling yourself, you're selling something, a service or a product. But you have to go beyond just selling. All right. What people are looking for now is, how are you educating? People value information. There's so much information around. It's all free, but people are trying to manage through the legitimacy of information. So don't just sell, educate. All right. People enjoy, recommendations. They enjoy new information and whatnot. But don't just leave your customer there to just fend for themselves. All right. One of the things that I've been able to do, and I see a lot of people do this, Ojinga Carr, who's on here on Facebook, he does a great job with this, and many of you others do as well. You've got to offer things that keep people connected to you. All right. You've got to not just leave people to their own vices. You've got to educate. Consultants do this very well, and that's why I shouted out Ojinga and others that are in the consulting business. But whatever your product or service is, educate your client on it. Even if you're in a nonprofit area, which shout out Brittany Thornton with Juice Orange Mountain just joined. Even if you're in the nonprofit area, whatever it is, you've got to be able to educate people on your product or service. So it goes beyond just selling. Educate them on, what's in it for them, not what's in it for you. What's in it for them as the customer. You've got to be educated. What are ways that they can use your product or service to continue to solve problems? Because that's the whole thing about retention, is you've got to perpetually solve problems for them, solve pain points, stroke ego, right? And this all is contingent on your industry, right? You got to instill a sense of pride in some area. So don't just leave people up to their own vices. Spend time educating. Use social media not just to do hard sales, right? I see some people, they get on and they're always hard selling. Do this, do that. They got these hard call to actions, right? That comes off as kind of, there's places for that, but it comes off like you're just desperate to just do something. All right? Educate. Share with people what it is that you do, how you do it. Let them behind the scenes a little bit on how it's done. And listen, I don't believe anything about stealing ideas. And what's going to be for you is going to be for you. No one's going to steal your idea and run do it. Most people have no example of that. When you ask people, like, who's ever stolen your idea and implemented and was successful with it? Very few people have any kind of real, story behind that, because it don't really happen. Why? Because you still got to show up. Just like I said in sports, you can have the playbook. You still got to show up and play. You know what I mean? You still got to show up and play. So, but at the end of the day, you've got to let your customer be educated by what it is that you provide. And that's got to be ongoing classes, webinars, things like that. Hosting, small events and things like that, where you get a chance to educate people. Make sure that your collateral, your marketing collateral, is in order. Your website, your social media should all be tiered to educating. When you do videos and things like that, it shouldn't always be just hard sell. Come do this with me, do this with me, do this with me, do this, do that. Educate people on, the behind the scenes, the history of what your product does or service does. How you got involved in it. What's your story? All right. So I'm pushing people towards this particular one because I see people fall with this all the time, and it hurts them in their retention because they just do these hard sales. Another area that will help you with retaining customers here on the Minding Your Business podcast, episode 72, is deliver surprise reciprocity. And this is something that's difficult sometimes for the freelance entrepreneur. Have you ever, let me ask y'all this. Think about this right now as I'm talking. Recall a time when someone did something for you nice unexpectedly. So put yourself in the mind of a customer real quick, or just as a person. Think of when someone did something nice for you unexpected. That gesture, it probably wasn't monumental. I'm sure they didn't do anything that just changed the course of human history, right? But the fact that it came from out of nowhere, I'm sure left a strong impression on you, right? So just think about that as I'm talking. Your customer's the same way. If you do something unexpected, right? You send, hey, Ron, I appreciate you being a customer. You've been with me for 5 years, and listen, on your next purchase, just take 25% off or 10% off, or next time you come in, we'll have a special gift for you, or I'd like to send you a special gift, or Ron, I know that you enjoy taking your girls to Disney World. Here's a coupon for a free ticket or 50% off a ticket or something like that. And you just kind of do that out the blue with your customer. It's a small gesture, right? Doesn't, it's not going to blow their socks off. It's not something they've never seen before. But those type of gestures, when they're just kind of spontaneous out the blue like that with your customer, goes a long way, particularly for people who have been riding with you. Right? So make sure that you incorporate something like that, some sort of reciprocity. Business owners, we gain the benefit of people doing business with us, but you've got to give back. There are other ways to give back as well, but you've got to be able to do that. And if you could do that in a positive, surprising way, right? People don't mind positive surprises. Negative surprises, they don't want. Nobody wants that, you included. But positive, based on reciprocity, positive surprises, people love all day long. Okay? Next thing is, don't underestimate thank you. Okay? And sometimes we miss this, as people. Tell your customer thank you. Okay? Yeah, when people are doing business with you, there's a lot of there's a lot of avenues. So, some of us are in really congested industries. You're in retail or you're in financial services. You have a very homogeneous service or product. Homogeneous meaning it's the same. People can go from, just like with y'all in banks, you can go from, Bank of America to Chase Bank, and the only thing different really is going to be the logo and the colors on the receipt. Right? You have to differentiate yourself. And sometimes that's as simple as just telling your customer thank you. It goes a long way. I know handwritten notes are starting to come back in. People are doing different things as it relates to how you show thanks. But, tell your customer thank you. You'd be surprised at how many businesses don't do that. Even those that are not just the big businesses, but people that have small businesses or micro businesses, or even in the freelance. They just do stuff and they have this attitude like people just supposed to do business with them because they were there, or because of their race, or because of their gender, or because of where they're from, or because of, get past all that. Thank your customer. And not just the ones that are popular, right? Some of us play that game where, we want to, we always want to ride these waves, right? And so we want to, we create these class levels between each other. Every customer that does business with you, no matter at what level, deserves to be thanked, right? Because they could take their business anywhere. So be appreciative of that. Showing that appreciation goes a long way. All right. I've said this earlier, but I'll say it again. You got to make it personal. All right. There was a study that was done by the Journal of Applied Social Psychology. Researchers found that waiters and waitresses could increase their tips by 23% by the simple act of returning the tables with a second set of mints. The researchers concluded that the mints created the feeling of a personalized experience for the customers who received them. So it was the personalized service that made their day, not the small gift in itself. So 23% based on that study. Just by coming back with mints. What does that do? That's personal. Right? That's a personal service touch. All right? So, again, in this whole spirit of retention, and how you connect with your customer, you got to make it personal. It can't just be about you. So some people, their business is just about them. All right. And that's not going to win over customers. You can't be dogmatic in this game like that. You can be aggressive. You just can't be dogmatic. You've got to be able to show how your business or your service connects with people personally, on a personal level. All right. Next is speed is secondary to quality. Okay. Speed is secondary to quality. So when it comes to service, this and what I'm about to share with you comes from Gallup. Okay. So from the Gallup group. So according to research from the Gallup group, customers were 9 times more likely to be engaged with the brand when they evaluate the service as courteous, willing, and helpful versus speedy. All right? Courteous, willing, and helpful. With a splash of empathy, all right? And then a splash of a assumed close, which is a sales term, which means you're assuming that they're wanting to do business with you after you've educated them and after you've shared with your customer the features and benefits of your product or service. After you've done that, a lot of people go into what's called an assumed close. I tend to do that. Right after I share the benefits and features of a product, I tend to go into assumed close, which is basically, hey, are we ready to go? Are we doing business here, or what's the deal here? So you're always asking for the business. All right. So those are just sales tactics there, but yeah, speed while being expeditious is definitely important. Don't calculate that the quality of what you do is even more important than speed. People will be okay if you run a little behind, as long as you educate them and you're transparent and you communicate. People are okay if you run a little bit behind. What pisses people off is when if you're really fast and the quality's not there, the quality sucks, it's not going to be there. Now, of course, you can't have great quality and be deathly slow either. So there's a balance in that. But, recognize quality over speed. Other thing in customer service is look at the right platform. Make sure you're connecting with your customers on the right platform. Listen, if your customers aren't on Facebook, you don't need to spend a lot of time on Facebook with your business. If you're, like, for instance, if you're in, you sell to other businesses, right? Then you need to be in some other platforms, especially when it comes to social media and then other things. You might need to be on LinkedIn or some other areas, but you've got to be on the platform, particularly as you gain customers. You've got to, going back to knowing your customer and making it personal. Where do they hang out? Where are your best customers? Where do they spend their time? And that's where you need to go spend your time, on that platform. I see a lot of, again, freelance and, kind of your social media entrepreneur that falls in love with Facebook. They fall in love with LinkedIn. They fall in love with Twitter. They fall in love with Instagram, the ones that they use personally. All right. If your customers aren't there, ain't no sense in you being there for your business. You can be there personally, but don't spend a lot of time on platforms. Like, if your customers aren't listening to the radio, what the hell are you buying radio ads for? You know what I mean? If your customers don't watch TV, or if or they're not, if they're at work during the day, they're at their business, you advertising at 2 PM ain't gonna do you no good. Right? So that sounds basic, but a lot of people miss this, and it's hard to retain customers if you're not going to be where they are. So once they do business with you, you got to understand their DNA and where they are. Not where you want to be, where they are, if you want them to be coming back to you for more business. All right. Another area is you got to solve the cause and effect. And this one is big, and this is where I'm going to share a quick story with y'all. So there are times when, your customer service will fail. Whether it's just yourself, whether you've got employees, whatever it is, it'll fail. at some point, because you're not going to be able to satisfy everybody all the time. And you want me to show you a business that's going to struggle at some point? Show me a business that satisfies every single person all the time. That's a business that's telling a whole lot of lies. So think about the banks in 2008. All right? There's a whole lot of stuff going on behind the curtain. You're not going to satisfy even the best Chick-fil-A, whoever you think is the best at customer service, doesn't satisfy every single customer at every single location 100% of the time. All right? But when you look at your cause and effect, this is related to complaints. So when someone does business with you or they're doing business with you and the service is not up to their standard or what they believe their standard to be, there's ways to handle that. And the main way to do that is you've got to dig into the cause and effect. You got to dig into the root cause. So think of your tree. If you're dealing with the tree, deal with the tree from the root. The customer's going to want you to hang out on the branch. That branch is going to fall. You got to get to the root. Okay? Because it goes beyond just that customer, because it could be that's an issue that's systemic within your business. And your customer is being gracious enough to share that with you. That goes a long way to making sure that you can resolve that, not just for that customer, but for your business. Okay? But what you want to do, and it helps in reducing problems, is get to the root cause, listen. Don't listen to respond back to the customer. Don't match the customer's energy in terms of their negativity, because that's more than likely rooted in their frustration. So it's not necessarily a personal thing. For some customers it is, but it's not always just a personal thing. What you want to do is you want to get the customer by asking them open-ended questions and listening, taking notes. All right? Restating back to them what they said. Hey, Miss Smith, if I'm hearing you correctly, you were saying that because of this and because of that, this happened, and this is how it's impacted you. Am I correct in saying that? All right. Now, some of them going to give you attitude and all that kind of stuff. But again, it's rooted in, people go through all kind of things throughout the day, y'all. And you may just be the deer in the cage that's easy to shoot at. Right. So you can't take it personally, but you've got to get to the root of the problem. All right. This can go a long way in retention. All right. When you have a bad service, if you're in, janitorial and the people come in and they don't think the bathroom's as clean as it should be, they may be right, they may be wrong. All right, but you want to get to the root of the problem. Well, show me where the issue is, show me what is done, and we'll resolve this quickly. If you have employees and your employees customers are complaining on your employees, again, you've got to document that, because there's a cause and effect of there may be things systemic in your business that you want to make sure you're resolved. So customer complaints are a great opportunity for retention, because it's great to get that communication, because everybody's not going to be real with you in the business. There are going to be a lot of people that are going to, there's a lot of fake love out here. So a lot of people are going to, they may, be in your face smiling and grinning and all that, but they may not be doing business with you on a repeat basis. For a couple reasons. One, they may have unresolved issues with you from the last time they did business with you. Sometimes their friends are talking about you, so they can't be or contradict themselves with their friends by doing business with you. So there's all kinds of different things. But explore the cause and effect. A complaint is nothing but a great opportunity for you to further build a relationship. All right? But you've got to be able to do that by not matching their negative energy, y'all, but sit them down and listen. Allow them to vent. Allow them to get whatever it is off their chest, right? Because that's going to include some things that they're going through personally. It's not going to be just all about your business. Some of their issues going to be you're triggering some of the things that they're going through away from doing business with you. That's okay. That's okay. But get to the root of the issue, and look for ways, then going back to some of the other things that I said, look for ways to connect personally and then offer them something in reciprocity, right, for retention. I'll give you an example of something like this real quick where I missed. I had a bad service experience with, I talked about the co-working business earlier, right, with Memphis. We were downtown, and I haven't spoken with her. She's probably watching here on Facebook. But I had a young lady that did an event at Memphis. And great event with you ladies around yoga. Phenomenal event, great for us. A lot of people saw that. We were able to do business. But me and then the people that I had on staff, we did not deliver. I was not there. I was involved in a real estate project, and so I did not make the time to be there and to oversee what my team was doing, which spoke to the leadership around how I was managing that team, as well as how are we going to conduct business with this particular customer. And so she did not have the optimal experience, although the event turned out to be great, that we had the co-working facility. Her experience was not what I would expect and not what she would expect. And I give her credit because she was very truthful in what she shared with me. She didn't pull any punches, and I didn't expect her to, right? And I was able to get to the root of the problem, and I offered her to be able to come back and do an event at an extremely reduced rate. I could afford to do that. But this was not on her. This was something where we dropped the ball as Memphis at that time. All right. That happens. All right. That happens. So I apologize for her because I was not present to oversee. She was expecting me to be present. I was not. I was involved in another deal that at that time I put, just to be honest, just to be real, I prioritized that over this event because I had people in play that I trusted in and believed they were going to take care of business. Well, they didn't. Well, that was a reflection on me because the business rose up to me. That's the risk I take as a business owner. That's the risk you take as a business owner. All right? That's the risk you take. When you put people in play, if they don't deliver, then you've got to deal with the customer. And then, of course, you got to deal with them. And look, I've been in management a long time, so I knew how to deal with them. All right? I didn't deal with them in front of her. Okay? I took the ownership. It's my business. I'm the principal of the company. I take ownership. Okay? But I had to deal with the cause and the effect of that. She was not happy. She had a great event. Fortunately, not with much of our help, right? That was where her and her team delivered on that. But we were able to do additional business, and she was able to refer business to us because of that approach of understanding. Allowed her to vent. All right, wasn't personal. It had thick skin. All right, and she wasn't wrong. She wasn't lying. Okay, so don't shy away from that. Okay, be open to that dialogue with your customers around the cause and effect. Finally, listen, in customer retention, y'all, reward not just your customers, but reward your advocates. They could be one and the same, okay? But reward the people that, and I said this earlier, this is one of the things that hurts some people, particularly at the social media entrepreneur, the freelancer, and those folks at the certain small levels sometimes is we get into, because we want to be big, we create this classism where we want to, we start stack ranking people, right? Who we think, who's got the most followers and who's going to get me here and get me that, and who's, every one of your advocates, and a lot of us have a lot of advocates, some we know and some we don't know, and we all could be better at this. When a customer or a Facebook friend or Instagram follower or whoever, when they take time to recommend your product or service, let them know you see that and you appreciate that. It don't have to be, well, they don't have nothing but 2,000 friends on Facebook, or it's not the person that gets 500 likes and 500 comments every day and all that. Don't be like that. Listen, because you don't know what that can lead to. Everybody that advocates for your business, that takes the time out and has enough confidence in you and enough trust to be able to do that, you should recognize them every time, 100% of the time, if you see it. Now, of course, if you don't see it, you don't know. All right. But that's going to show you who's paying attention to your business and who's out there advocating. You'll be surprised who's out there. A lot of times we talk about this thing about lack of support and all that. You'll be surprised who's out there advocating for your business that you may never know. Because people may call you, and unless you ask them, well, how'd you hear about me? Or if you don't ever ask that question or whatnot, you may not ever know that so-and-so told them about the business. Or it's like the hockey assist. Someone tells somebody who then tells somebody who then that person comes and does business with you. You may not ever know that. All right. So make sure that you're recognizing and rewarding those that are advocates. Because that's going to help them be more advocates for you. One of the things that'll take the air out of people's balloon is when they're sharing your stuff on social media, they're liking your stuff, and they don't ever get recognized. Guess what they're going to do? F them, right? They're going to go on to do something else. Right? And you may lose that advocacy or that customer. Right? So recognize their loyalty when they're with you. Okay? And the very last thing is, listen, if you want to retain customers, y'all, do not slam them on social media. All right? Stop that. What's up, Cynthia Daniels? What's going on? Cynthia Daniels and Company. Great events that she's got coming on. Make sure that you connect with her. I've talked about her on this podcast as well, along with Carolyn Henry, who just joined. Thank you so much. These are folks on Facebook Live. Make sure that you share. If you guys got events coming up, just remind everybody on Facebook. If you got events coming up, make sure that you share them in the comments. So that people know about it and can further share it and can look to attend. Or if you've got a business, make sure you share the links so that people can like your pages and connect with you and do some of these things that we've gone through today that you can do with them as prospects and customers. But listen, don't slam your customers. I've seen that so much. It went down for a little bit and now it's picked up across social media channels where you get business owner and customer and they're warring back and forth on social media. As a business owner, you're going to lose. Okay? You're going to lose that. No matter how justified you feel, no matter how much you may be in the right and the customer may be wrong, you're going to lose that battle in the court of public opinion. You just are. You're going to lose that battle. It don't matter how crazy the customer. The fact that you're just going back and forth, think of that in your mind. That's going to be an L. All right. So if you go out there and you start slamming customers or you're passive aggressive about talking about people, that's not going to go over well because your prospects and other people who are maybe even thinking about doing business with you see that. And nobody wants to be called out publicly, particularly in that kind of form or any kind of form. So it's not a good practice. Cut that out. All right. If you're talking about retaining your customer. All right. Because obviously that customer is not going to do business with you anymore if you're slamming them on Facebook, and they're going to be more apt to tell other people to not do business with you or try to slam you or slander you personally or whatnot. So just save that. If you have an issue with a customer, all right, go to them one-on-one, just like with people. Go to them one-on-one and have the conversation. Make sure that you're listening. And make sure that you understand their view and their perspective. They may be completely wrong. They may be completely wrong. That's okay. Okay? But make sure that you're not just slamming people. And listen, for those of you that are customers, don't be so quick to go slam people on social media. All right? Particularly if you haven't had a conversation. If you've been sitting there in their face all this time, give them the opportunity to have a dialogue with you. You may be mad. The service may not have been great. The product or service may not be what you intended for it to be or would like for it to be. And that happens too. So as a customer of a business, give the business owner the respect, at the least, of having a conversation. Pull them to the side. Let them know about how you were not appreciative of the service or you did not like the service, and offer them an alternative. If you have to coach, then coach. But because your idea is you want to see them be better. Y'all don't go to Walmart. Y'all not going to go to Walmart next month. And if you want the bike off the top rack and there's nobody in Walmart to get it down, you don't go slam Walmart on social media. I never seen none of y'all do that. Right? Walmart or Target. If you got to climb up there yourself and get the damn bike down. Y'all don't go back on social media and talk about it. When y'all go by McDonald's and they're out of fries or the fries soggy, y'all say y'all not going back to McDonald's. Y'all be back the next week. All right? With the people that you interact with every day on social media, you come across in the streets and whatnot that do business with you, you do business with them. Give them that opportunity to make it right. If they don't respond, right? Then get them. If they just decide that they're going to blow that off, or they don't value their business enough to try to resolve it, they don't value you as a customer, then go do business somewhere else. It don't matter how nobody looks or what their race is or their gender or none of that. Just go somewhere else. But yes, y'all stop the slamming on social media because it just gets ugly. And for those of you that are business owners, it's not going to go over well, and it's going to hurt everything else that you're doing where you talk about retaining. Okay? So listen, I hope today's podcast was informative. I hope you learned some things. I hope that some of this was very familiar with a lot of y'all. But I appreciate you tuning in. This was episode 72, How to Retain Your Customers. I am your host, Champ Ron. This is the Minding Your Business podcast. Thank you for everybody that is on Spreaker Live, everybody that's on Facebook Live joining me. Subscribe and share this podcast. It's all across all the different channels, Apple and SoundCloud and whatnot. But listen, we're going to keep this thing going. Next week, I'm going to be in Pennsylvania, so I'm probably going to do a new episode on Thursday because I'm going to be in the airport most of Friday. And I hope to have a very special guest, possibly when I get back, a very special guest, local new politician, black female politician that I hope to have as a guest on next week. So you'll see more come about that in the next several days. So yeah, I'm going to be in and out of airports next week. Hope you all safe time, safe travel. Have a great weekend. Go check out some of this new music. You got Creed 2 in theaters. Make sure you're doing business with each other over these holidays and get your minds and stuff. Hopefully get your plan ready for 2019 already. And you've got that already looking to be implemented. If not, you need to jump on it. Jump on it now. But retain your customers, y'all. That's going to be big for your business. And if I can be a resource for any of you, you just let me know. Champ Ron, the Minding Your Business podcast, entrepreneurship, real estate, trending news. There's no business like minding your own.